Today's guest is a woman who embodies excellence, resilience, and representation at the highest level. Dr. Rhonda McEwen is one of the very few women of color, Black women, to serve as a university president in all of North America. She's a trailblazer in STEM, a champion of equity, and a storyteller who helped shape Julia, Sesame Street's first autism Muppet. But what makes her journey even more remarkable is that she has built this legacy while navigating the profound and beautiful responsibilities of mother to two children, one of whom is on the autism spectrum. Her story is one of holistic, real world leadership. It started in the Caribbean. It's a story of leaving home, building identity in a new country, and refusing to shrink in rooms where she was never expected to lead. In this episode, we're talking about leadership, legacy, cultural pride, the imperative to integrate special needs into our institutions, and how she continues to break barriers in Canadian academia. If you're a Black woman or a woman of color, if you're Caribbean, if you're an immigrant, if you're a parent in a neurodiverse community, or if you simply believe that inclusive leadership matters, you want to stay for this conversation. How can someone who was such a natural leader growing up not see life beyond the Caribbean? Because I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know the tall poppy syndrome?
No, I don't. Please tell me.
What we're experiencing once again is the tall poppy syndrome. And in a poppy field of beautiful red poppies, they're all about the same height, which
Yeah.
makes that look beautiful and uniform. And every now and again, a tall poppy comes up.
She is the #1 podcast host from the Caribbean, based in North America. Media mogul and the legend agent to the biggest names in international cricket. This is BasiaTVPodcast with Basia Powell. This episode is brought to you by 124 Not Out Sports Agency, the #1 agency for international cricketers in North America and the Caribbean. Welcome to the next level. Basia TV Podcast starts right now.
Dr. Rhonda McEwen, welcome to Basia
Thank
TV
you.
Podcast.
Thank you so much, Basha.
Listen, I'm tearing up when I'm reading about you. Oh my God, I need to get it together. Huh, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with these hormones? But I tell you what, this is long overdue. I certainly hope I gave your story the respect it deserves in our intro.
You did. And I want to say thank you so much, Basha, for being someone who has really tried to lift people up in all the work you've done on your platforms. And there have been many of them over the years. You pick topics that are important, but most of all, you tell stories that people are not always telling. And I really give you credit for continuing to drive that.
Thank you. And I won't sit here and take all the credit. I would take credit for the vision. But God has blessed me with the most amazing producers, partner, everything. It takes so much to pull this all together and to have people believe in this vision is they are the real champions. Because to say to people, I have this vision to do this and believe you, I'm a very lucky woman.
Yeah.
So even more lucky to have you here today. So welcome to Naples, Florida.
Yes.
Virtually.
Thank you. And it's virtual because it's not feeling like Naples where I am.
No, I'm so sorry for you. Yeah. So take me back. Let's get into it. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. I might cry. I might not. But you know your girl.
I
All
do.
right. Take me back. Who was Rhonda growing up in the Caribbean? Little Rhonda. What made her bold, curious, or different?
So, I have to say, I don't know that little Rhonda felt different. I think growing up in the Caribbean, we didn't even have this sense of the big world that existed outside of our small island living. The things I loved was going to see my grandmother and playing with my cousins, Trinidad and Tobago. We are so close to South America that people would, say, hey, we're going to go to Venezuela for shopping. That's what it was
Yes,
like when we were
Caracas.
growing up. And my family were not that kind who were going Venezuela for shopping. But, I think the thing is life seemed very much achievable. And I look back, this is of course in hindsight, when your leaders, your principals, your, aunties and uncles and were the people who could become prime ministers or leaders, and it would not be a surprise at all.
Yeah.
I think you grow up in a place where that potential is always there.
Yeah.
We talk, and I remember little Rhonda's, you'd hear talk about race and so forth. And it's only in reflection you realize that talk happens. And in the meantime, if your neighbor having a prayers for Diwali, you're going over, right? Or if
Mm.
everybody lighting
Or
up for
Eid.
Christmas or Eid or anything, it's like,
Anything.
we kind of grew up in that. And I feel like there are pockets of the world that this still exists, but there was a kind of freedom to not being affluent. We were all getting by. Our parents were not wealthy by any stretch, but we felt a community. I remember my mom would stop children in the road as we were driving to school or work and tell them things like, the young man, hold your brother's hand or stop fighting. Your mom would be very, and people, they would say, sorry, and sorry,
Yes.
auntie, and move
Sorry,
along,
auntie.
right? Strangers. So
Yeah.
that is little Rhonda growing up. No conception of leaving the country, going to do, degrees. It wasn't a plan, but it was sort of growing up in an environment where it was always possible. I think that is something to look back on.
But I mean, when I look at your story, you've always been a leader naturally, head girl of your alma mater, your high school, St. Joseph Convent, valedictorian, for your first degree at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. How can someone who was such a natural leader growing up not see life beyond the Caribbean? Because I did.
Right. Well, little Rhonda wouldn't have, but I would say from the time we were in secondary school, so at St. Joseph Convent, St. Joseph, up the hill, then you start to throw your vision a little further.
Yeah.
I will say there's a particular part of my story that is unique, and both of my parents had done bachelor's and master's degrees. Like, I'm saying that because even here in Canada, where you would expect this to be a common situation, it's not. Many people are still first in family to higher education. Many people may or may not have had guidance at home. I had two parents with 2 degrees. So that's a very unusual start. And I think that let me set my sights in a different way.
Yeah.
So I knew that I would love to have traveled for school, but I also knew that there was something really special about UWI. UWI was not easy to get into even back then,
No,
right?
it wasn't.
12%, I think, was the number of
A
that
lot of
would be
people are not aware of that. The University of the West Indies was not easy to get into.
Nope, it wasn't. And so, the goal then was to get there and then to see what could happen from there. And I think I started to set my sights beyond the Caribbean after, during my time at UWI, but toward the end. But I will say the UWI education was probably the best foundation.
Agreed.
Right? I have 4 degrees, but that one I will say is the one that really pushed me. I had
The
faculty,
structure.
right? The faculty who said to us, you can do this. And, when you go and you say, can I have a few more marks for this paper? I think it's so good. They'll say, no, you need to actually work harder and get that.
Yeah.
And that taught me lessons, right? That, being, I was always a good speaker. I'm good with people, but it taught me that achievement had to come from working really hard and putting in the time and the energy and the hours. And I really credit my UWI faculty and I remember one in particular.
Yeah.
It was Professor Rhoda Reddock, who had said to me, and you'd had the same
sociology, right?
yes. And she said to me, if you want this, there are scholarships that but you need to try and get a first class honors, and you need to put up the marks as high as you can. And from that moment, that was a kind of red letter moment for me where I was like, okay, actually this is possible. And my parents were supportive as I said, not wealthy, but supportive. And so they were able to help me like go to the embassy, go look for scholarships, right? Because they had received scholarships for their education. So that was certainly helpful. But then, yeah, so when I got the British Chevening Award, that was coming out of, I think, Rhoda Reddock's very small. She probably wouldn't even remember the conversation she had with me. You know, it
The
was
impact we have on people.
impact.
But I
Exactly.
wanna just agree with you on one thing. I mean, I agree with everything you said about you, but in
Yeah.
terms of what we have in common is that I know that my UE degree, I have 3 degrees, and that one was the hardest.
Yes, I agree.
It sets you up for life. It sets you up to know that, hey, detail, detail. I think the detail part of my my perspective, but my mind
Yes.
comes from those B's that I was angry about, and C's too, right? And it sort of sets you up for life in terms of paying attention to detail. I have to
Correct.
say, I credit that to the University of the West Indies. There you go, guys.
Well,
All
yeah.
right.
We didn't even plan that, but there
I
you
didn't
go.
even plan that, but it's the truth, you
It
know?
is the truth. And, you know, I was recognized. You're right. So St. Joseph Convent, St. Joseph, I was head girl. So leadership was always something, I guess, that was a part of who I am. You know, the debate goes on forever. Are leaders born or made? I think you need, even if you have it inside you, you have to have an environment that gives you the
To hone that.
space to
Yeah.
hone that. And I think I had it at secondary school. I also had it at the University of the West Indies.
Yeah.
So having that start in the Caribbean, you know, has really been, as you can see, very impactful. I left when I was almost 26 years old.
Oh,
Right.
that's when you left?
Yeah, I left at 25 to go to do my master's in business administration, and that was in England. Think about that foundation, those formative, way past formative years happened in the Caribbean.
Yeah, wow. I left at 21.
Yeah.
My God. Okay, so when did you realize that academia wasn't just a career, but a calling? Was there a moment that shifted everything for you?
So I went to academia as a second career, a second major career. So my first career was actually in management consulting.
Okay.
My first sort of, you know, I had been TAing and so forth, you know, at UE and in other places, you know, some small tutoring, running, you know, classes for continuing education and so forth. So again, it was never far, but it wasn't sort of, I thought, well, I want to get my PhD and be a professor. That
So you
wasn't,
never felt that?
not then. No, I actually did the MBA and then really went after management consulting.
Yeah.
It was after I had done my third degree that I actually started at Deloitte. And that career in Deloitte took me to 3 different countries for work. I moved up the ranks very quickly there. Again, you know, fully formed character and value set from the Caribbean, work ethic as well. You know, people saw and recognized it. I had great champions who kind of recognized that and moved me up the ladder. So I moved quickly. And it was only when I went to University of Colorado Boulder to do my master's in telecommunications engineering. When I was done with that, I worked with Deloitte. Deloitte moved me from Atlanta back to England, where I had done my MBA before. And that in that Deloitte experience, I actually met my now husband. So he was also a Deloitte consultant.
Yeah.
And we both
That's
worked
where
in
you
the
met.
office, and that's where we met. We met in a conference room with no windows. So we always joke and say we had no options.
That's amazing. Yes, and I mean, it's been
So
love
yeah, it's been
since ever since.
23.
How many years now?
Married 23. We've known each other for a bit longer than that, but
Yeah.
very, very happily married, really wonderful. I took my time to find my person.
Yes.
You know,
Well, good job. Well done.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Sometimes you don't need to
Because you
hurry.
know, it's not often that women in leadership
You're right.
find the right one for them.
No, and I have to
especially
say,
women of color.
well, women of color and women of a particular ambition set and who are
Correct.
achieving.
Correct.
It's tough. It's not easy to be married to us. It's clear.
Why are you including me in that? Come on now.
You are one of these women.
It's easy to be married to me. Wink, wink.
It is easy in one way, but it's also
No, you're
not
right.
for everybody.
You're very right.
Yeah. Not for
And
everybody.
for some reason, we rub some men the wrong way. Like they want us to, which leads into my next question. They want us to stay in our place.
Right.
You better stay in your place. I don't know what that place is. But so women like yourself and others, very blessed when you find that right man whose manhood is not threatened by a bright woman of color.
And when you find that person who gets you and sees you, they want the best things for you. And
Correct.
and so for them, there's no assault to who they are
Yeah.
because they see it basically as we are
Listen,
gaining,
my
right?
husband is my number one fan. There'll
Right,
never be another number one fan than my
right,
husband. And
right.
and I happen to know your husband, and I
Yeah.
think you're his number one fan too.
That's right. And it's
Yeah.
mutual, you know. So
Yeah.
I think, on that, I know there are a lot of very successful, ambitious, fantastic women who could
Mm,
easily be in the same frame with us who
yeah.
have not been able to achieve this. And it's actually quite shocking to me sometimes. These are
Yeah.
beautiful, accomplished,
Beautiful.
financially able, and
So what
yet
advice do you have for them?
I mean, I don't know that I can advise. I think all I can say is they have to continue to be who they are
Just
and
be
do what's right
themselves.
for them,
Yeah.
right? And if that comes, it comes. If not, what I would not advise is that you change who you are and you lower who you
Do
are.
not shrink.
No, the shrinking is really quite because in the end, you look back at a life and you think, where could I have made a difference? Where could I have found wonderful, loving relationships? And it's not
Yeah.
always for everybody in the same
No,
way, right?
no.
Some people find that through other means, and that's
Mm-hmm,
legitimate.
mm-hmm. It's for me, this conversation is not necessarily about a man, it's about a partner.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And some people have amazing girlfriends, guy
Mhm,
friends who fulfill for them something very important. And it may not be in the cards.
mhm.
And so I don't think you should feel lesser if you didn't. I
Yeah.
think, we in some ways are very blessed, as you said, very fortunate, but so are people who have chosen or have not been able to find that partner. I
Yeah.
think they also have blessings. It comes in a different kind
In
of
a
way.
different way.
Yeah,
Yes, correct. I mean, Dr. McEwen, you've walked into rooms where you were the only woman, the only Black woman, and the Caribbean voice.
right.
What was the hardest lesson you learned leading in those spaces?
It's so fun that you asked that because it doesn't stop, right?
Mm,
I still, because of the kind of role I have, I'm still the only Black woman president of a university in Canada. So I do attend meetings where there are 98 other people, and literally, I am the only one, and that happens on a regular basis.
mhm.
I think there's a teaching, Indigenous teaching. I've been really learning a lot about Canadian indigeneity, and there's a teaching from the grandfathers have the seven principles, and one of them is bravery. And I
Hmm.
think bravery, and we say courage, we could put the other words around it, to be in a space where you know you're the only one. It requires you to center yourself and be brave. And you walk in and you remember what you bring, and you remember that you don't have a place at the table, but you are a voice in the
Hmm.
room. And that's something to remember always when you walk into those spaces. So recently, when
Mhm,
Hurricane Melissa has,
mhm.
completely devastated Jamaica, I happened to be in one of those meetings at the time. And I am co-chair of the Canada Caribbean Institute, which
Mhm.
connects universities across our two regions.
Yeah,
And I thought, how could I be here and not tell all these presidents about what is happening to Jamaica
correct.
and what they should be doing in their universities to support their Caribbean and especially their Jamaican staff, faculty, students,
Mhm.
right? And, people would think, well, it wasn't on the agenda. So I asked for time on the
Yeah,
agenda to share with them what was happening.
because we got to take care of our people.
Gotta take care of our people, and you need to use our
Mhm.
voices in the room. And they were very grateful. And several
Mhm.
came to me after and said they didn't realize, they didn't know, the news doesn't often cover it properly. Um, and we hear more about the hurricanes
It was
affected.
all over the internet.
Yeah. You know, it wasn't tracking on the major news channels, right? As it did for a second and then it stopped. So,
Mm,
we that I try to use my platforms and my spaces, especially when I'm the only one.
yeah.
That's even more important then, because if I don't say it, no one will.
Wow. So it still exists
Yeah.
much. This is off script too. I'm trying to find a way how to say this because obviously I've had similar experiences
Mhm.
we're in different industries, but I think, right, like as young women coming from the Caribbean, we
Mhm.
were raised in environments where we also needed to shrink in different ways. Would you say that?
I would agree.
Right. So I
Absolutely
want
agree.
to I want to handle this tenderly but I remember, since full disclosure, I've known you from high school and so on.
Yes.
There were some people who buckled, who felt that, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to shrink. I want to know if you've never told me this, and forgive me for asking it on such a public platform where millions will see this interview. But there are millions like you and I who need
Right.
to hear our perspective on it. Would you agree?
I do.
How did, because there's so many young Caribbean girls who look up to you, me, others, my producers, people who've done it, people who've made it in their minds.
Right.
How back then, what ran through your mind? I'll give you an example. For me, I knew that I was expected to shrink, you know. Did you feel
Mhm.
it? I didn't have to come to North America to know I was expected to shrink. Back then, in the country that I grew up and then later went to Jamaica. Now here's a parallel. I was never expected to shrink in Jamaica. It's the first time I'm saying this, and I'm saying it publicly on the Baja TV podcast because we are on this topic.
Right.
Jamaicans never required me to shrink. They saw me. But in our beautiful country that we were both blessed to be born in, I think I got practice overcoming or ensuring that, listen, I am not shrinking here. And that got me ready for the real world. What was
Mhm.
your experience?
I think, it's hard to talk about an entire nation. We've had our own individual pockets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a matriarchal structure. My grandmother ruled the roost. She
Mm-hmm.
sat in her rocking chair throne and sent edicts out into the world to like tremble.
Same.
Yes. And I think I always had powerful women around me who were not shrinkers.
Hmm.
But there was a counterculture. And remember, we're talking about the 70s and the 80s, where,
Yeah, let's be real.
let's be real, right? Women who participated in the Black Power movements of the 70s paid a price for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in all things, there's a pendulum swing that comes. So I
Hmm.
think, when we were coming up, we could see that, in a way we were trying to get put back in our place,
Yeah.
Black Power, Rafros, these women who were out there, labor movements were very active in Trinidad and Tobago at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we went through a period when we were coming through where there was a kind of a reckoning for that, right? Look what you all did. Look what you
Mm-hmm.
get back in line. And I think maybe that's what we felt. Now, around me, I was kind of surrounded by women who were not going back in line. And
Yeah.
to be fair, like I remember we had some minor protests and stuff in secondary school, and there were teachers who stood with us and said, "You all need to fight. You need to advocate. You need to not back down on this issue."
Oh.
One of your producers was part of, probably will remember when we all we turned in our leadership badges. We were all senior leaders
Mm-hmm.
in secondary school, and we wore these badges that would say what our role was. I was
Yes,
head girl at the time,
I
and
remember.
on this issue, we were being guided by some teachers who said to us, "This is a fight you and you have to decide whether you want to bend and capitulate or whether you want to take this all the way." And we chose to take it all the way. And those small sets of advice and those journeys showed that there was always a counterbalance to that shrinking, where you stand proud, you stand tall, you be recognized. I
Mm-hmm.
think I saw that when I worked in Trinidad before I left. I worked at the telecommunications company TSTT, and there too I just really had I never say it was luck, because it's always ordained in some way,
Yeah.
preordained, right? I had the real opportunity to work again with very strong women. The head of my unit was a woman. The woman I reported to was quite senior. And they would say, there were other women who would be like, "Make sure your lipstick is always on," right? That kind of thing. And then there were others who were like, "No one gives a care about
Mm-hmm.
your lipstick. You just own your power. It's all inside. Yeah, it's all in you.
Don't
That's
let the
not
lipstick fool you. I like lipstick,
no,
but
lipstick is good, but it's not that's the small stuff. You gotta play on the big stage and answer the
mm,
big questions, and you go big and bold. And
mm-hmm.
that is what they did for me. So I think, yes, there was a prevailing culture, but underneath that there was always resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it was a matter of seeking that up.
Yeah. No, I just wanted your thoughts on it because I say to North America, listen, I come over to Trinidad and Tobago. They try to make me shrink. They were really just preparing me for you.
Yeah. I think the places where we were shrinking were in different places, in the workplace and employment, we came up in a time where Black women were told that they couldn't have their natural hair out at work.
Braids
That
and stuff was frowned upon.
you're not frowned upon. I think in some places, workplaces, it was actually banned. Especially the banks, for example, you had to have your hair straight, you had to have it tied down, you had to have it slicked down. Wearing your hair, and I know people say we talk about hair a lot, but you have to understand that
A
hair
real
was
thing.
well, and it was also indicative of a place where control was being kind of put in place for women, especially Black women and women of color. We came up during that time. And
Yeah.
so, yes, you're right. There was that. And that's a way, those are microaggressions to the shrinking, right?
Yeah. It just evolved into different things.
Yeah, conform, the way you dress, the way you walk. And Black women, our bodies are not the type where it's easy to shrink in some ways, right? So
Yeah.
to see the ideal be presented in a different way was
You
something we
touched on
left.
the banks, and I recall my late father saying to me one time, I had gotten a job for summer in the bank before I went away to pursue my MBA and to work in Jamaica as well. And I said, I don't want to work in the bank,
Yes,
essentially being ungrateful. And he looked at me and he said, do you know your mother couldn't work in the bank in
right.
X, Y, and Z, and Black women didn't get a job in the bank until so. And I was so shocked. I looked at, because we didn't have that experience. We weren't necessarily aware of that time. And I looked at him, I'm like, really?
Mhm.
And he said, yes. And that was a real moment for me. I was
Exactly.
like, wow.
And that's inside a generational turn, right? So
This is in the 70s and before.
70, that was when we were born, right? So it's
Yeah.
literally understanding. I think I have grace and compassion for a country finding itself post-independence where
Yes.
women were struggling to, and
Yes.
I think the difference
Hmm.
in the way the social hierarchy runs in Jamaica, you feel it on the ground in terms of things like that.
Yeah. Well, Jamaica is more class and they still deal with that, but not,
Race and class combinations
yeah,
and
the
color.
race is not as much an issue. I didn't encounter that. And as you know, my husband is Jamaican and I live there professionally it's really class. And that
Yeah,
class, anybody's allowed once you're in there. It's just, so I'm sure a Jamaican would talk about their own triggers from
sure.
childhood. I am not able to speak to that.
Because you didn't grow up there, but for sure,
No, I went there
where
at
we
my
grew up. Yeah.
prime and I was received straight in,
Yeah.
so my experience, my lens are very biased.
Yep. Yep.
But I am so glad that you went there with me because often we don't look back and and for our viewers and listeners, we are not looking back with criticism or we're
Not
not
at all.
angry. We're not tarnished. We, as Dr. McEwen said, we're looking back with compassion, understanding the complexities of slavery, of independence, and so on. And I myself had forgotten about the complexities
Yeah.
of independence. We often talk about slavery and we skip the fact that we weren't even our own countries
Oh,
until
no.
whenever. So thanks for reminding me of that. That helps me. It helps to ease my frustration with the situation sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, it's true. I think
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah. So my next question is, there's representation and there's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you carry with you when you step into power?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. I'll tell you a story. I when I first was in a senior administrator role in the academy,
Yeah.
young student came to me. I was teaching, and she came approached the podium after class, and she said, um, and she almost couldn't speak, and I'm like,
Yeah.
go ahead, any questions for me after class, and anything. And she said, I don't even know how to talk to you. And
Yeah.
she started to cry almost instantly. She said, and this is somebody in first year university, she said, you are the first Black teacher I've ever had. I mean, ever had, from kindergarten all the way through. And she said, and on top of it, you sound a bit like my mom. And my mom was from St. Vincent. So she's basically like
Really?
Caribbean. She said, I'm so overwhelmed to see you here. And she said, I don't
Representation
have a
matters.
question. Yeah, she said, I just want you to know that just being here has made a difference for me. She said, you don't
Yeah.
have to do anything else. And, she said, I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to know.
Yeah.
And I thought from that day on,
Isn't that
every,
powerful?
isn't that powerful? So as I walk the campus spaces, as I stop and I say hello to a student or any student, I'm mindful that for many of these students in North America, I will be the only Black professor that they ever encounter. I'm not even talking about being a woman, just Black professor.
And you're not
And
even talking about being president of University of
nope, nope,
Toronto.
just as a faculty member, right? It's stunning. And so I have
Mm.
made a commitment that for every convocation, I make sure I'm present. I go into other people's processions
Mhm.
often because I'm in full regalia. I'm in my robes
Mhm.
and I sit on that stage or I stand on that stage and I look out at the 1,000 students or how many ever in the convocation hall. And I know that for some of them, they never did get that Black professor or teacher. And I, in that moment, I'm showing them that you could be here.
Yeah.
We belong here, and this is achievable
Yeah.
because we didn't grow up. Everybody, 99%, right,
Mhm.
were these people, but we are for them. I will be the one,
Yeah.
and so that kind of you talk about
That
responsibility.
warms my heart.
Yeah, and that well, it's great, and it's something that I take responsibility to make sure that that stops happening. That
Yeah.
right. So when I do things like I led the creation of the Black Research Network at the University of Toronto,
Yeah.
which brings together a community of scholars who are often the only one in their field in their department across the entire three campuses. You number, University of Toronto is massive,
Mhm.
tens of thousands of faculty. We number 250,
Mhm.
and we get together. We had a get together just a week ago, and we're doing it. I didn't make it a social network. It's a research network,
Good. Got it.
right? Because these are like exceptional researchers and scholars
Mhm.
who ought to see and ought to be able to be in a space where they can speak to each other, and how we make sure that they continue up the ranks to get to these levels.
Yeah.
That pathway doesn't normally exist. And so this is a forum where we can say, oh, you're doing that research, let's do it together. Let's put in a grant together, because that's how we achieve
Yeah.
in this field. And that for me is part of how we solve that I shouldn't be the only one that people ever see.
Yeah. So, obviously, my next question is for the young women watching this and listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, watching on YouTube, on Baja TV, especially women of color, Caribbean or immigrant women. What do you wish someone whispered to you years ago?
I think the whisper would be something to the effect of, don't allow negative talk that is external
Mm-hmm.
become your personal mantra. You really guard against that. That's not done, that's not possible, we've never seen that
Energy.
before, right?
Energy. Okay.
You find your mantras that say every day in every way, I'm getting further and further. Every day in every way, I am getting better and better. Find your whatever is the thing that will guide you.
Yeah.
Replace the negative energy and the negative thought with positive talk.
Yeah.
That's so important because you will hit the times where it's not working out. And it's easy to say, and I'll tell you the statistics, the research is there.
Mm-hmm.
Students young women of color, especially young Black women, if they get the first, C in their assignments, they tell themselves, they told me I wasn't good at math. I knew I wasn't good. I knew this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that this was, this was always going to happen. And then they drop. They drop.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is that 95% of the class around them also got the same mark. And
Yeah.
because that was never told, they are just told, oh my God, I got a C. And they just kind of move on and they keep pushing.
Yeah.
And and we see women in STEM, especially that first C, that first D, that first fail,
Yeah.
they say, I am a failure. Not I was unprepared. They say I am a failure and they say this isn't for me.
Yeah. I think the great majority of people, it's easy to accept the negative.
Oh,
It's
so
easy. It's
yeah.
easy to accept easy.
Well, especially when you're not getting a lot of other affirming, more positive messaging, right? You
Yeah.
get in this moment we're in, Basha, to put on this podcast, you have to think this is a reversing of the DEI, right? And a rolling back on a commitment to openness and inclusivity. A point where if I am asked to speak, my team is very careful about where they say yes. They're vetting.
I know.
Right?
We've been vetted.
Yeah, they vet because they're like, is this a place where they will harm our reputation? I represent not just myself, but the university as well, even when I'm not speaking about university matters.
And I want you to know that my team of producers and I, we didn't take this lightly.
No.
They were vetted by me as well.
Correct.
I know
Because we have to be so careful, right? And this moment is easy for us to say. There's a lot of negative talk out there.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go shrink again. Maybe we, right? It's a request to shrink. Is
we're not
coming
shrinking.
again. Yeah, but we have to make a decision. Do you shrink or do you grow?
Yeah.
Do you know the tall poppy syndrome?
No, I don't. Please tell me.
So a woman once said this to me. She said, what we're experiencing once again is the tall poppy syndrome. And in a poppy field, a field of beautiful red poppies, they're all about the same height, which makes that look beautiful and uniform. And every now and again, a tall poppy comes up and is above the rest. And there's an instinct to pull that poppy out or chop it down to size, right? And so often people will say, they will come for you.
Yeah.
Not because for any other reason that you're just not fitting their impression of where you need to be. So tall poppy syndrome is we got to take down someone who rises above.
Listen, the way I choose to look at that, right? Because I think a lot of us who've made it, we've always been tall poppies in our field, right?
Right.
But I want to thank my people. Before I would not have said this, but I need to thank our people.
Yeah.
For kind of like grooming us, even though I'm not sure if they're meant to do that because, we come from a culture, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're getting this podcast, let me tell you about Caribbean people. Caribbean people are going to tell you can't make it. Why you want to do that? Da, da, da. And when you make it, they'll say, that's my sister, that's my friend.
So proud of her. She's the best.
Yes, I always know she was going to do that. Yeah. So we're just accustomed to the people trying to make us into tall poppies or whatever. So I just wanted to say that.
The reason I love tall poppies is, as you said, a tall poppy didn't make itself tall. It had whatever it is inside of it. It's own materials that made it. It was always going to be tall.
Oh,
and so the choice is, do you try and not be that? Poppy can't stop itself. It will rise, but it has to resist the gardener and the tenders wanting to take it down. As I said, this is a tough moment for Black women leaders, for women leaders writ large.
At large,
online, the social stuff is horrible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of negative energy, and women struggle with supporting each other sometimes. Not always, but sometimes it's tough, right? Because it's hard to get out there. When I was in management consulting and I had our daughter, I remember a woman partner saying to me, that's great, but you need to now get a nanny, and you get a nanny backup for that nanny. Because one thing you can't do is not show up because your kid is not well.
No, I did that to build this business. I had a nanny backup by the time I had a second child, I had a nanny backup for that nanny.
And so the idea was, we know as women, we have that to carry, and we have to be thinking about that at all times, especially women with children. If you have childcare, if you have elder care, if you have a partner that needs care, people are not thinking through what we do. And if we ourselves need care, if we are not well and we need our own care, the system isn't necessarily rise to cover that. Right. So this is something that we have to constantly, and that's happening in 2025. It'll be happening in 2026.
Yeah.
That's something I feel like I would also have whispered to my younger self, anytime you can, you help a woman. And I have done it. Like I have gone into young women, girls who code, the Association of American Women in Technology. I have done all the things, Society of Women Engineers, really going out to schools, talking to younger people, younger women about not being afraid and to push and to work hard. It's a lot, but it's a real commitment that I have, and it's
and just
paid off.
Continue to do what you do. It's working.
It is working, and if it's one person And if it's not them, then for their own,
Yeah.
whoever they have in their care, their nieces, their nephews, their daughters, they will be able to talk to. And it's really important that young men get guided appropriately,
As well.
because they need to be able to deal with these women who are ambitious and are going to do really well.
That's
And
that's a good point. Like Professor Scott Galloway often talks about mentoring young men on his podcast, and
absolutely.
I love it. But I haven't really heard them touch on helping young men to understand how to be married to women who are ambitious, women who want to forge their own path. I have not heard that
That's
discussion.
right. That's right. And I think that
Hmm.
partnered well, that I have heard Scott's work too, that demasculine impetus, he's kind of saying where's the middle ground for men.
Yeah.
And I think the men who find themselves partnered with a strong woman, who have themselves a strong sense of their own identity and who they are as a person, they actually do better. And I think the statistics show that married men live longer, right?
Yeah. Yes. My
True.
husband claims he can't live without me. I say, let's see. Right. Right.
So,
But
so, but it's important to raise young men who are able to really be a partner in
yeah.
a relationship where, if that is their
But
inclination,
Dr.
the woman
McEwen,
is
it's
strong.
also important for women like us who the world might think we are like Margaret Thatchers of the world, whatever that means, because that's kind of unfair to Margaret Thatcher either. But it's been said that like we don't need a man or we don't. I want to put it on record, especially for me. I could not have done a lot of the things that I have accomplished without my husband.
Mm.
I just couldn't. Not that I would not have accomplished it, but the way the support I got, that just made me stronger. That
Mhm.
made me better. That made me more confident. I wasn't lacking in confidence, but to have a partner, just like whether that's a woman or a man, whoever you choose your partner to be, that just sets you up for excellence when you have the right person who understands my role is this, your role is that. I have done the same. And my husband has always said this to me. I couldn't do this without you. So
Mhm.
why shouldn't I let him know that I could not have done this without him?
Yeah. And your sons will see that
Hmm.
kind of reciprocity in a relationship and
Hmm.
understand that. And actually, at different times, you take on different roles for each
Yes,
other,
correct.
right? But a true partnership, one that is really embedded in not just love. Love is key, but also
Yeah.
mutual respect. That respect for each other, and that ambition that we both will work together. There are times you drop back, let your partner lead. Other times you take the lead, your partner takes the wing, and that is nothing to
The
do.
synergy that
Yes,
is a
that's right.
special mix,
Yeah,
that chemistry you have to create. So let me ask you that you talk about respect in a marriage where you're a woman of leadership, your husband is a man of leadership. Like, would you say that respect is the most important ingredient? Because love comes and love goes.
that's right.
Love is a funny word.
Yeah, and
Everybody has a different feeling about love.
yeah, love changes, right? It starts off in one way over a life and over a journey.
Yeah.
It
Because
changes it
I cannot stay loving somebody I don't respect.
100%. For me, and it has to be mutual. I have to respect them, but I have to know that they respect me
For
and
me,
all of me.
respect is the most important thing.
Me too. I agree.
I wanted to hear you say that so bad
Hmm.
because I often wondered if I was like,
Hmm. No,
kind
it's
of
true.
ultimate. Yeah, I'm like, if I don't respect that man, we done.
And you
And
could
if you
still
don't
love them.
respect me,
And you could still love them, but
yes, I've known people who left people they love because they just didn't have any respect for them anymore.
that's right.
But nobody goes around saying or discussing how important respect is. And I wanted to go there with you as a woman in leadership, as a president of the university, as a woman who's accomplished so many things. I'm like, but your marriage is working.
Yeah.
My marriage is working. The day that I don't feel the respect for my partner and vice versa, or feel like I'm respected, the marriage won't be working.
Yeah.
Thank you for going there with me.
Yes. And I will say this for all our single sisters and brothers out there listening, we're talking about partnership with using marriages because it's our
Yeah.
context.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Partnership
Partner
is what we're talking about.
Partnerships, what we're talking about. And if you don't find that partner that is meeting those that mutual respect is there,
Mm-hmm.
then, maybe you need to stop and do some work, or
Yeah.
you need to wait. But
Yeah.
there's no point in just doing
Forcing
it
it. Yeah. I cannot
because
be with someone who doesn't get me, who
right,
doesn't support me. Like, because once I am with you, you getting 150% support from
correct.
me.
Yeah, and life brings so many things in both of our
Yeah.
cases. I started, we had our daughter right away, but after that we had infertility issues, right? So
Yeah.
and our daughter ended up being identified on the autism spectrum. So she's
I'm glad
autistic.
you brought that up.
So
That's what we
so
have in common as well. We
that's
have
right.
kids on the spectrum
That's right. And the statistic for marriages,
and husbands who didn't leave.
and I actually recently met quite a few mothers who left.
Yeah. Well, I've heard about two. A
Yeah,
friend of mine told me about,
yeah.
one and another. But in general, men are the ones who leave.
Often because the women
And
carry so much
children.
of the caregiving. But I
Yeah.
have, as I said, I know quite a few men
Women
who
who
are the
leave.
ones who carry it, and because it's not easy. So I'm saying life throws. You never know what's going to happen
I know, you never know.
in
And
it.
Dr. McEwen, I don't judge when it comes to special needs. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want to see a family breakup, but honestly, I'm like, I don't really judge. If you're
No,
gonna stay there and ill-treat that child or whatever, you might as well go.
or if the partnership, it has to be so strong to deal
Yeah.
with these
It
these
has to be
issues.
solid.
Has to be solid, and if it's not solid, and then it's probably the best interest of everyone to
Yeah.
not try to fight that through.
Yeah. Yeah. So what
So I
keeps you?
mean, I would say,
Yeah.
um, on that, I've taken a lot of that into my work.
Right.
So when I talk about inclusion, when I talk about, EDIA principles, which is what we
Mhm.
call them here, equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility, I
Yeah.
come at it not just, especially not because my research doesn't normally, a little bit, cover Black issues of color or race
Yeah.
or class even. A lot of my research is on accessibility, and
Okay. Got it.
it's on working for people with visible or invisible disabilities and
Right.
how we include them and give
Mhm.
them a place. And so that for me is more, um, you could say what you want about DEI and all the rest, but if we roll back on our big tent trying to create a world where everyone should belong,
Yeah.
then that's a severe loss for humanity.
Yeah, well said. Now, I gotta say that I realized that we didn't touch enough on Julia, and I really want to talk about that, especially how you said that it still gives you goosebumps. So it would be remiss of me not to go back and touch. The creation of Julia on Sesame Street was a landmark
Yes.
for public understanding. What is the equivalent Julia moment you hope to foster within the university environment? Because this is your proudest
Yes.
moment as
Yes.
a professional. Tell me why it was your proudest moment and how you foster that in the
I,
university.
one of the things that, and Julia's tied to education, as you said, it's public education.
Yeah.
There were many times, I'll tell you a story. My family members, my cousins would say to
Yeah.
me, "Can you tell, your niece, their kids, why our daughter is like this? Or tell them about autism." And it comes from a really blessed place where they're trying to find understanding. But the work then goes always on the family to
Yeah.
voice and to explain, and it's
Mm.
a lot, and
Yeah.
to break it down to different age levels so that there's understanding there.
Mm-hmm.
And one time our son, when
Mm.
he was still quite small, he was maybe 6, he was in like grade 1, or whatever. And his teacher, we went to a meeting with
Mm-hmm.
teachers, and I had to bring our daughter with us, and she's the one on
Yeah.
the spectrum. And she came with me, and she's sitting down with me, and he's sitting down, and the teacher says, "Hi, Dr. McEwen, nice to meet you, and let's talk about Ash." And he said, "Excuse me, but my sister is here, and you didn't say hello, right?" He was about 6, and he
Mm-hmm.
recognized that people need to see and have an understanding. And he was only 6; he couldn't articulate why he wasn't being precocious. He was literally saying that she was not being recognized, and she was right there.
Good
She
for
was
him.
invisible. And I think the work with Julia helps take that to another level, to say,
Yeah.
can we see and recognize what autism can look like in its various forms and on the
Yeah.
spectrum? Can you be made to feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Muppet is not a scary thing. A Muppet,
Yeah.
it's just, and the way Sesame is part of your neighborhood. So they said
Yeah.
autism is in your neighborhood. Let's bring a character forward who can interact with others, and we can use the character to explain a little bit about the spectrum disorder and how to interact with people who are
Yeah.
in your neighborhood.
I think it was genius.
And they don't make Muppets. They're very expensive. And the amount of research the network.
Well, on behalf of my son, I need a James Muppet made for
Yes,
autism.
yes, for
We
real,
need
right?
James, okay? We have Julia, we need James.
Well, and that was a very long conversation about what to do there. And the
Yeah.
decision pivoted on the fact that there still are,
Yeah.
girls on the spectrum are a minority. And so
Yes,
they
I hear
thought,
so.
and they're misdiagnosed and underdiagnosed because of that. So they thought, let's go there, um, but bring in other families and other opportunities to learn about young boys
Yeah.
who are also there. So James kind
We
of
need a
comes up.
James.
We need James, right? But yeah, it was really quite powerful. And I think the number of people I've met who've said that, and I helped with there's a digital set of formats. You can watch it as a cartoon, you can
Yeah.
watch it as clips on YouTube, you can
Yeah.
listen, so it took many different
So
forms.
just tell families where they can find this on YouTube, just in case they haven't.
Yes, there is a website called I think it's in the Sesame Workshop. I know Sesame has had their challenges with funding. Uh, so yeah, they actually were just recently defunded in a very particular way, which was very sad. But it is they still have all the resources online.
Yeah. So
Um,
YouTube obviously it's kind of like an affordable domain, so they
It
can
is
find
an
it there.
affordable domain, and luckily we made it so it's called See Amazing in All Children Initiative.
Yeah.
So that is how the autism inclusion was part of that. See Amazing.
See, amazing.
If
Okay.
you just look for See Amazing in All Children,
Yeah.
Sesame, it will come up with all of the resources
Yeah. So
that are
that's where
found.
families who are desirous of learning more about Julia can
Yes,
go. It really is a phenomenal project. And again, we're so proud of you for pioneering this. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, it was really wonderful, and it's so fun that something that in a life can seem as a hard, difficult thing became for me a real passion.
Opportunity. You
Yeah,
find your best opportunities in your hardships. Yeah.
exactly,
That's
exactly.
that's that's the role of an entrepreneur.
That's right. And I never see myself as entrepreneurial. That's yours,
Of course.
Basha. But
No, but you
I
are.
get
There are
to be
different
I get to
types,
be all of it.
There are different types. How do you stay grounded? How do you check your vital signs?
Yeah,
University president, sitting on all these boards, successfully married,
right.
career, children. One child is on the autism. The other child I tell people I have two children. One has autism, but they both have special needs.
Absolutely.
Because the child who does not have autism, or now in my case, my son is an adult, they carry so much.
Yes. And they may have their own neurodiversities in some other form or
Yeah.
their own whatever, or even if not, they've been in a household where they have been
Yeah.
a sibling.
Yeah, that in itself creates special needs because everybody thinks you're okay because they have to deal with that one.
So,
So how do you
grounded,
stay grounded?
I'll tell you, I take my breaks, and I changed the culture here when I came to this university. People would say, okay, I'm on vacation, but you can reach me. I have my phone with me and you can anytime. And I'm like, actually,
Yeah.
oh, who's your delegate? Who are you going to make your delegate? And you disconnect. You need to actually take a break from all of this.
Yeah.
And so I'm really good.
So you do that well.
I do that. It's almost a gift. I know how to take that break. I
Do
can
you
flip it.
want to tell the people how you do that specifically?
There are many ways. I have one in particular in what you're referring to, and actually I don't know if they'll be able to see in my office. I have these great carnival headpieces from my endeavors. I go away, and it has tended to be carnival, which is this amazing release of just let it out, let it go.
Let it out.
Right? And it's just joy and tremendous energy and creativity just exploding everywhere. And the other thing is everyone is kind of the same level.
Yeah.
You can, even if you're in the front, in a fancy costume in the front, or you have the big king or queen, at the end of the day, we're all on the road.
Yes.
It's different from those carnivals that have floats and people.
Yeah.
We're not disconnected from the people. All in the hot sun. We're all but people are taking care of each other. They're like,
Ladies and gentlemen in North America and all over the world, in case you're confused, Dr. McEwen is referring to Trinidad Carnival.
I am referring to Trinidad Carnival. And apparently Tobago Girl was great too, but I haven't
It
been.
is amazing.
See? And I have not gone.
I've never been to it, but
Right,
I went to Trinidad recently on the night that is the most popular night. It was just an error on my part.
right,
Apparently, that was like Carnival Friday night for Tobago.
right.
And the worst decision I made of my life because Tobago's carnival is popping.
It is. And it is the older vibe, the smaller. It hasn't gone big scale yet. But I do.
I
I
don't
take
know
my
about
time.
that, Dr. McEwen.
Really?
I
'Cause
said
I
it was
haven't done it.
popping this year. This year, it was huge.
Wow, that's amazing.
Picture landing in Trinidad and Tobago on Carnival Friday nights. You know that immigration hall is
Yes.
crazy. That's what happened
In
at
Tobago.
Tobago Carnival.
Wow.
They said this year, everything shifted.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Then they'll bring their own spice to it, right?
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
island, even though it's a one country, it'll be a little bit of difference that we'll be able to
Yeah.
pull off. But I also take time outside of Carnival. I go to the lakes because I'm in lake country and take time away. It's more in the trees with the chipmunks and the
Yes.
squirrels
nature.
and nature, really just tapping. I have friends who, one in particular I'm thinking of, who loves to hug a tree. So not necessarily hugging trees, but I know what she means. It's that forest bathing,
Yes.
that pure
Yes.
oxygen.
Connection with nature.
Connection.
I think I'm going to start hugging trees when I go home to
Yeah,
Georgia
it
home. That
apparently
might
it is
give
a
me
thing.
something.
Yes,
Yeah.
apparently it
Yeah.
does a lot. So I
I'm going
would
to hug
say
my tree.
and also girlfriends, I find a very powerful
Yes.
connections, whether it's online, we try to meet up in person. Those are very, especially people from your past who know your history and know you. There are no airs you have to put on. You don't have to be the president. You can just be Rhonda. And that I think is very grounding, right? It brings you right back down to here's what matters and what's valuable and what's important.
Yeah. I've never seen you not grounded in any room you're in, which is what makes a great leader.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's authentic. It's not like I'm then
That's
running
the
into
point I wanted to make.
right
with my-
and
yeah.
freaking out. I literally do feel. I think you get that because
You just belong in every room you're in, and
Yeah.
that's the making of a great leader.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. As a university president, what do you believe institutions must do better? I should say, what should they do to better integrate understanding of neurodiversity and special needs into the broader curriculum? Not just in education or psychology departments, but for all students. What do you think?
I have a big tent philosophy, and I've been talking about this with my team and with my institution here. This idea that people will have an impression from your brand of what you should be.
Yeah.
And then they will feel, am I included in this or not?
Yeah.
And I think often we call the same things, right? Here in Canada, we talk about indigeneity, we talk about people who are Black, we talk about whatever. And, as I said, we forget sometimes about the much larger population that are neurodiverse. And they don't know how to find themselves in these conversations because we haven't really explicitly put them in those conversations. And that's really, for me, you cannot have a big tent. You cannot say we all belong. And yet to get into the building, you have a ramp over on the side that it's really hard for people to access, or you have a room where the lighting is all fluorescent and it's really, or the ambient sound is not being attended to. And those are small sensory issues. Once you take an impression, a perspective that this is a big tent and we all should be here, what you find is that the changes you make for one thing actually make it better for almost everyone else.
Yeah.
And so this idea for me that we need to do better, especially invisible, and I call them invisible disabilities because there's no cane and there's no walker and there's no chair.
Yes. No wheelchair necessarily. Yeah. I
So
like that
this
term.
person is walking. This person, you can't tell on their face from
The
their
disability
physiology.
is sometimes social or in the mind,
Exactly. And it could be anxiety, deep anxiety. And the other thing is people, when I talk to people, they think, well, yes, let's get more student services, let's get mental health. We did here on my campus, and not many have done it, mental health first aid for staff. So we trained all of our people on mental health first aid. How do you recognize the signs for your fellow coworkers? How do you make sure the spaces are inclusive for staff as well? So it's not just the students.
Correct.
Faculty also have these same concerns and same disabilities, and we are not doing enough to support
Yeah.
our full community.
So let me ask you this on the topic of curriculum. We have another podcast here for Gen Zs led
Mhm.
by my son and two childhood friends and so on. And it's really, as to take a term from the Gen Z population, is really popping. And one of the reasons is because people are not taking Gen Z seriously. And Gen Zs, as well as Gen X people like us and others, are having great anxiety around AI.
Yes.
How, I don't know how, because I don't want to make this a University of Toronto issue.
Sure.
It's an issue for all universities. So, so my
It is.
question, you
Yep.
sit on a lot of committees and boards and stuff. How is the university preparing for the shift that is not likely to take place, but will take place? Well, I
Mhm.
should say not if it's going to take place, but it will take place. And the shift in employment, the shift in functions, etc. For AI is coming for a lot of jobs that
And
people are currently trying to do degrees that may not exist.
Well, and
How
it's happening already.
it
Let
is.
me start with that. Let me start by
It would
saying
be
that
remiss of me not to ask that question on behalf of my son and my other Gen Zs over at
yes,
ZB's
yes.
podcast.
And of course, they are anxious, the anxiety. Listen, young people,
Yeah.
sure, they're not growing up during a time of a great war. We have several smaller wars, but it's not like, world wars. But what they're facing is a climate war, right? They're facing a sort of severe anxiety over climate, severe anxiety over geopolitics, severe financial anxiety, and then here comes AI. So
Yeah.
we also had a global pandemic, right? So
Yeah.
they've had many reasons to have deep fear.
Yeah.
And AI is not coming along as the answer, it's actually adding to the list. So
Yeah.
what I would say is what my faculty are already seeing is that students are using AI. Even when they're told not to, they are using AI. And so I wrote an article in 2023 for the Toronto Star newspaper. I'm going to paraphrase the title, but it was something like AI, is getting a B plus, a solid B at the moment, and that was a few years ago. And it's
AI is getting a
it's
solid A+.
now it's
From what
moved
the
on.
students are telling me.
And I think in the title I was saying, is it cheating? Like I was questioning, is that use cheating? And so we had to unpack, and as an academy and as a set of scholars, we have to reckon with a technology that questions our pedagogy, our approaches, our curriculum, and asks us to prepare people for a world where it is already a feature. So saying don't use it, bans don't help prepare people.
Yeah.
Or for what the employers will expect that they will
In
have.
our organization, if we don't use AI, we're not going to be competitive.
No,
because everybody else in our industry,
especially small and medium-sized organizations,
like mine,
absolutely, yeah. And so I think what we have to figure out is how do we make sure that humanistic. So what I've been talking about in many places is humanistic AI. How do we make sure that we have kind of understood and defined the roles and responsibilities of the human and the machine? My research area is called human-machine communication, and we started this field, I want to say 15 years ago, kind of before AI exploded in the way it has now. It was coming along, but it wasn't AI specifically. But we were saying we are already communicating with machines in a very interesting way, and we need to get much better at that and understand the roles that we all play in this, because machines will continue to play a major role. So for the Gen Zs who are coming around who are anxious and worried, I would say this: every new technology, when they were new, brought with them similar kinds of concerns. I remember do you remember
Yes, I know you were going to go there, but go ahead.
Yeah, song called Video Killed the Radio Star. And here we are on a podcast. Radio, audio, and podcasting has risen over time after video was introduced. And it was TV. When TV came on, we thought, oh my God.
You know where I thought you were going to go? When we were on campus is when they came in with these big computers and started to introduce the internet. Well, was it the internet at that time?
Yes,
but
1990.
Right. And then email.
91.
That was a big thing. That was AI for us.
That's right. Everybody thought, I remember when we changed from mainframes in telecommunications into client server, which is the smaller machines.
Yeah.
There were redundancies. People had to reskill, upskill. It was, and we're going through. Now, the difference here is that whereas technologies in the past affected kind of what we kind of call blue collar factory work, Now it's impacting in a big way the office workers, people on computers.
It's
The what?
impacting the highly certified,
That's right, the highly
highly
skilled.
skilled
Yes, and so this is
population.
where I think
Like,
so
I've
I find
never
it
seen anything like it. I mean,
nope,
it's
has been nothing like this. There's been nothing like this. And on the one hand, I think it will create a lot of new opportunities, but it is taking away computer science,
yeah,
basic computer science jobs, like the low level stuff is
correct. I attended this online conference recently for AI just to make sure my
yes,
organization is ahead. And what this guy said is that, listen, AI is not coming for your jobs. AI is coming for the jobs of the people who are not ready for AI.
correct.
And
Correct.
that gave me new perspective to come back and say to my team, yo, we just need to be ready.
Yeah. And in
Nobody,
universities are not fast moving ships, right? We like to move slowly.
yeah, that's my
So
concern.
yeah, so we have had to, but the students are also pushing us. So I know my
Mhm.
curriculum team at the college at the undergrad side, they met over the summer to
Mhm.
figure out
They have to
what are
move
we
fast.
doing and what's our choice here, right? Where
Yeah.
are we going to play and how? And I was speaking on a assessment panel recently
Yeah.
on how is it AI changing the way we assess. And
Yeah.
I think that's where the biggest challenge actually is. It's
Correct.
an assessment, right?
Yeah.
So some are going back to doing orals.
Listen, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur in media, and as a parent of a Gen Z,
Yep.
I'm concerned because I'm concerned not just for, I'm not really concerned about my child. I'll tell you that
Right.
because you know your girl. I'm concerned about people's children
Yeah.
because I I want to know that these kids, after working so hard, they have jobs.
Yeah, there will be jobs. I think there will always be jobs. There's a certain point at which, at the end of
Mhm.
the day, humans are inherently social beings,
Correct.
right? A machine can chat with you for a bit. After a while, you still
Yeah.
need
In
to do
fact,
that.
what I also learned at that conference is the complex jobs will be there.
Yeah, for sure. And jobs that have a requirement for deep problem solving with a understanding
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
human condition.
They can't
They're
replace therapists. Good thing to
well,
do.
for
Because
sure.
yeah, can't replace therapists. Those are complex things to solve. So they said, I was like, oh, really? So the complex
But I'll
jobs.
tell you a complex job being a podcast or a
Correct.
media
Correct.
expert. A notebook AI is I'll just name this one because it's so specific.
Yeah.
But it's Google, and Google's it's running Gemini on the back end, and you
Yeah.
can put a report, let's say, into it, and it will create two people interviewing each other on the topic, and it'll say, oh, tell me more about whatever.
Mhm.
But and it's actually, if you listen to it, you can't tell at first that it's not
Mhm.
two people
Mhm.
because it's not, there's no, it's just all audio.
Yeah.
And but what I said to someone recently is, you see how you could take a turn. You can say, let's go down this route. Let's bring it
Correct.
back here. That takes experience and skill that the machine cannot do.
Correct.
Follow a
I say this
particular
to my
line.
producers all the time.
Yeah,
Like the human side, yeah, you could bring me a script, but I'm not going to go down that script. It depends on what the person is going
correct.
to say to me. AI cannot detect that.
No, it can't. It's the subtleties, the nuances, the opportunity to take the conversation
Because my next
into
question is going to be based on your answer.
right.
Yeah, I
But
can't do
if
that.
you script the whole thing, it will happen, but it's just, it's not as powerful.
I've never done those interviews, can't. And I know other people like me. I'm not the only one. So you have to use it to enhance,
Correct.
but you can't use it to replace. And that's my thing with AI. But I just wondered, if the universities were like, hey, we got to
Oh,
do
yeah.
something here to tweak at least,
There are some universities that are leaning fully in and changing, making sure every course has an AI component, skill building. Others
I'm
that
out of
are
that.
leaning fully away. So it's a choice.
I don't know that fully away is going to solve the problem because they're going so fast.
Or capitalize on the opportunity. It's not always such a
Precisely.
problem, right? It's actually
Pivot.
a powerful tool, and
Pivot.
it does, yeah, it does
Yeah.
amazing work.
Yeah. All right. I know that my producers are excited for me to go into our Pepperpot segment, which
Okay.
is like whatever. But I have one more question for you.
Okay.
And when it comes to your legacy and when your story is written, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for someone who led with love
Hmm.
and authenticity and care, right? I don't want to be remembered for someone who here's a stack of achievements and look at how amazing. I prefer to
Yeah.
be, she was an amazing friend
Yeah.
and she was someone we could count on as a mother. She gave it her all. And as a, a partner, as a wife,
Mhm.
she was, that's what matters at the end of the day. All these
Yeah.
other things, whatever. And in terms of higher education, that
Yeah.
I did create pathways that others could follow so that
Yeah.
idea of being the first and the only, that in my time I would like to do my part to make sure that does not happen again.
Yeah. I hear that. I hear that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going into the Pepperpot section. You're watching and listening to the Baja TV podcast, and I'm hanging out with the only Black female president from the Caribbean in all of North America, right? Dr. Rhonda McEwen. We'll be right back.
Segment is brought to you by 124 Not Out Cricket Academy, based in Georgia and Florida, USA.
Welcome back, guys. It's your girl, Basha, and I'm hanging out with Dr. Rhonda McEwen, president of the University of Toronto. And, we've been having a moment, and oh my God, we could go on forever.
We could.
But the producer says it's time for the Pepperpot. Run that clip.
It's getting hot. We drop it in.
I say to my international Caribbean guests like yourself that, listen, we're no stranger to Pepperpot, right? But it's just that a lot of people don't realize that the different islands from the Caribbean
Yes.
countries call it different things. Pepperpot in Guyana is different. Pepperpot in Trinidad is different. It's different in Barbados. It's different in Jamaica. Pepperpot is a soup in Jamaica. In Guyana, it's the way they cook their meat. It's all kinds of stuff. But right here, it's about rapid fire questions. If you are allowed to use more than one word, I will give you the instructions. I'm the professor now.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
To enter the classroom of Professor Basha?
Yeah, I'm ready. Am I ready?
The professor of the Pepperpot. All right. Caribbean breakfast. Bake and shark or saltfish and fry bake?
Saltfish and fry bake.
What's a childhood memory from the Caribbean that still makes you smile every single time?
A protest that my brother and I did against our parents with placards because we wanted to stay up later and watch TV.
Oh, that's special. You remember? That's so special. I hope your children do it right back at you. Okay. A quote that gets you through tough days.
I'm an inner ninja.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Most unexpected lesson you learned from a child or student?
An expected lesson from a child. That there is beauty in the small things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Proudest moment so far, the one that still gives you goosebumps.
I think being part of the team that developed Julia, the Muppet, the autistic.
Yes. Okay. One book you think every young woman should read?
That's a good one. Wow. I'm a real bookaholic, so that's hard for me. Let's see. Maybe I will say that every young woman, boy. So I read science fiction. I read fantasy, I'm in a book club.
Yes.
So
When you get time for this?
I know, ridiculous. I make time. That's part of my my mental health. But there's a book by Arundhati Roy called God of Small Things, and I think it's really quite powerful.
Okay, I need to get that on my Audible. If you could sit down for tea with any woman in history, my producers are deep, who would it be?
It would be the double Nobel Prize winning scientist Marie Curie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Makes sense. One habit or ritual that keeps your energy right.
Sleep.
I hear that.
I'm a champion sleeper.
That is a very important part of the routine, because if I don't get good sleep, you're not gonna like me. I couldn't show up for this interview. I had a good solid 8 hours last night.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
gift.
A guilty pleasure TV show you actually love. Oh God, I'm too ashamed to say mine, but yeah.
I know. You put me in trouble. So I actually really enjoy Christmas movies. Like,
yes, I
right?
love them.
They are like this stupid
This
ones,
time of
right?
the year, my husband and I, we're stalking Netflix to see all the best Christmas movies. You have to
And when
watch
they
it.
moved it to like November and earlier, I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, that's me. Last question. for Pepperpot.
Okay.
Finish this sentence. Success looks like
the most beautiful sunset.
why sunset keep coming up in my life? Like, I said, and I mean, you would know this famous guy, the one and only Shaka Hislop.
Yes.
I said to him, I'm like, Shaka, for me, living a rich life, this is why my husband and I moved to Naples, and rich, no pun intended on the money, because you can have money and live anywhere.
Right.
But it's about sitting down and watching the sunset.
It's not.
It's something so magical.
And that is, for me, that feeling is
To hear you say this.
Yes. Look
Oh
at
my
that.
God. Yeah. The sunset. Success looks like the sunset. That's amazing. Okay, so we've recently introduced this segment, and I always apologize to our previous guests, but our recent guests, they've all been asked this question. We're gonna get ready for our last segment. It's a very powerful segment. So this is our last question. This is one for the books. We know years from now, when our legacies form, we're gonna compile all these answers.
Oh, nice.
And just see what all our guests have said about this. And the question is the same as always. Our last question is, if you could change one thing in the world right now, just one, what would it be?
I would change the fact that people are closing their ears and their mouths right now. I would really hope that we could get to a place where people can get into dialogue, even on difficult conversations. Again, right now we're going into our little boxes where we feel comfortable. We're online as well. We're in the areas and in those forum
Yeah.
where we feel seen and heard. But I really hope, I wish I could change the fact that in doing so, we're no longer listening to each other and we're no longer saying the things from our hearts, and unwilling to hear a different thing. So Basha, you and I have had talks where we talk and you will say, I don't know if I agree with that. And that's okay. And I will say, I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And we still have the ability to see each other and love each other for our differences. And that, if I could change one thing overnight, it would be that people could see in their hearts that we're all humans doing our best.
Yeah.
And we will not always see eye to eye, but that we could be in better dialogue.
Yeah. What a way to end. You want us to embrace diversity, essentially.
Exactly. In all the ways. In diversity of thought is a diversity. And I'd love that to become more important.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you, Queen. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you provide the platforms for these dialogues, right?
Listen, this is my passion. I almost gave up once.
I can't imagine it.
Gotcha. I ain't giving up.
No, you're not. You shouldn't. You can't.
There's nobody who can do this better than me.
It's true.
Thank you. Listen,
Absolutely
often
true.
we don't say that. When you find a thing that you know is you need to say that to yourself.
Correct. That's one of the mantras, right?
Listen, if I see somebody, if I were to give up and go in my thoughts, and I saw somebody doing this the wrong way, it would get me mad. It would get me so mad. That's when you know you're doing what you're meant to be doing.
Exactly. When you could wake up every day excited.
I just love this. This is my life. I love this, you know? And I love the fact that I get to showcase my people the right way, the way that they deserve. That bothers me. That is like, if you want to get me angry, be dismissive about people who deserve to be celebrated. It's a serious tick for me. My husband will tell you, like, I never take people for granted. If somebody shows up and they said, hey, I want to do so and so, I listen.
See?
I give them the benefit of the doubt.
You are living ears open, mouths open. You
all the time. Yeah. I think I close my mouth more now, but my ears are always open.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate anybody. You just never know.
Just never know. It's true.
What a way to end. Dr. Rhonda McEwen, thank you for sharing your heart, your brilliance.
Thank you.
And your journey with us today. Your story is a reminder that representation isn't just about being seen. It's about opening doors, lifting others as you rise, and staying rooted in who you are. To everyone watching and listening, I hope you're walking away inspired, encouraged, and reminded that your voice matters, that your story matters, and your dreams are valid no matter where you are. If this episode moved you, share it with someone who needs that little push today. And of course, don't forget to like, follow, comment, and subscribe, as you never want to miss another powerful conversation right here on the Basha TV podcast. Thank you for being with us, and always remember to live the life you love and love the life you live. It's your girl Basha. I'm outside. Cheers.